with the Spaceman 2.0. Here to help you grow in the knowledge and wisdom of truth, and the truth will set you free. So December 18th, I put this video out. I saw Canton come up. When I saw Canton coin, I seen CC, and I said that's code for 33 right away. And DTC chooses Canton. We all thought they were going to choose Ripple. Everyone assumes that. But one of my most wonderful and greatest shout outs to the wonderful researchers there outside in the crypto world is, let's see here, Mr. CypherX, Superior Trading Platform. Now, all of his stuff with Aquaman, even he's Mr. Aquaman 33. Now, when I put out that video on December 18th, Aquaman did give me a shout out, I believe, after that. So I'm not sure if it was because of that video, but he's highly into numerology. And let's just listen to what they have to say.
That one post that you made about the Canton ticker symbol equating to the number 33. I want to bring it in real quick.
Yeah, let me find it real quick here. Hold on, give me a second.
So while Aqua is bringing that up to the stage, okay, I'm going to play a video clip because look at who's on this list from the CFTC. And this gentleman, CEO of DRW, Don Wilson, and his number just so happens to be the number 33. Okay? They could have, now this list is not in alphabetical order, mind you. Okay, this list is completely randomized. They could have put this man's number in any order. They could have put him number 1, 27, 35, any number. They put him at number 33. Okay? And Aqua has pointed out that the ticker symbol for Canton coin equates to the number 33. C being the third letter in the alphabet, CC equals 33, right? While you're looking for that, I want to come over here and why this is so important. Okay, this gentleman, Don Wilson, being on the CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission, IAC committee, is not only that his number, like coincidentally, right, because we're on the theory of coincidences on today's episode, is the number 33. Oh, here it goes. Let me bring this up the stage real quick before I play the video. Okay, so what did Aqua say here? CC equals the number 33. When was this? This was January, what, 28th? Did she posted this? I can't see. It's kind of small.
January 28th. January 28th.
Oh, cool. Maybe you got some inspiration from Spaceman 2.0, my December 18th Canton show. This one right here. December 18th, Spaceman 2.0. They choose Canton Network over CC code for 33. Did they choose it over XRP? I go into how Hyperledger Quilt was built by Ripple and Canton's using that. And then supposedly they broke free from them, but no one ever breaks free. They just show what they're doing elsewhere. So who is Don Wilson? Let's just take a look. Don Wilson is the co-founder and CEO of DRW, a Chicago-based proprietary trading firm established in 1992. What else do we know about 1992? Well, 1992 is when they came out with the internet email procedures and protocols. So from the 1940s to the 80s, remember the internet came out by DARPA in 67. So they had all these protocols. 80 protocols basically down to 5, and the TCP/IP was the base layer, came out for emails, or FTP, and then the SMTP, which was for emails. So by 1992, they wanted to set up the Internet of Value, but it takes about 30 years, I guess, to get it into our minds, as well as us to adapt to this knowledge, right? So then HTTPS for websites, and www ties it all together, and I already went into that. We're www 666. So having said that, let's listen to a little bit more of wonderful CypherX.
January 28th that you posted this, right? So I just don't find it that it's coincidental at all. And then this dude, Don Wilson, CEO, DRW, number 33, okay? And if we go back to the podcast that he was on 2 weeks ago with ARK Invest, titled Tokenization of U.S. Treasuries with Don Wilson, listen to what he says about Canton Network.
Isn't that Kathy Woods or something like that?
As you talk about, what's interesting is that DTCC, as I understand it, is not only using Canton, it has joined the Canton Foundation as co-chair with Euroclear. So that seems like a big deal.
That is a big deal. Yes, I mean, it's not hard to read the tea leaves there.
Yeah.
That DTCC sees this as a very important chain, and one that they want to really lean in on.
Oh, cool! I see some
And
comments
it
down below.
seems
That's
like
awesome, guys.
DTCC believes that that Canton could become the default institutional RWA real world asset network. Is that what we can glean from this?
I mean, that's my interpretation of it. And by the way, it's also, what I believe. I think that Canton is best positioned to achieve that.
I think that Canton Network is best positioned to be the underlying infrastructure and foundational technology structure for real-world asset tokenization.
Okay, so having said that, check out CyberX, and Ripple has interest with Canton Network. So he's showing how Ripple back here is connected through GSDAP using Canton, and Ripple using that, and some other ones. So check out his videos, very deep. Another guy I want you to know about is 24 Hours Crypto. He has some great knowledge. Now, who knows? Okay, CyberX puts out XPR videos, and he's wonderful at Metallica's Truth. Never saw 24 Hours Crypto, but that could be his hidden crypto night and hidden in plain sight. Who knows? But all of his videos since 2020, I've been listening to him. He has all the knowledge, just like CyberX. You got Apex Crypto. He's really good too. Maximus Crypto. There's a bunch of them that are out there. I can't give them all shout outs, that are good deep divers in the true knowledge. But more about Don Wilson. Just read a little bit about that. Don Wilson leadership has expanded diverse areas such as algorithmic and high-frequency trading crypto assets via Cumberland, a leading crypto liquidity provider, venture capital, DRWVC, real estate, convexity properties, our carbon markets, Artemeter. He is a prominent advocate for tokenization, 24/7 collateral mobility, and market transparency, regularly speaking at industry events and advising regulators. Okay, he's a thought innovator, leader in financial innovation, co-founder, Digital Asset Holdings. Okay, so right there, Digital Asset Holdings. You guys can see that right here. So CyberX goes deep into digital asset holdings. And what are those guys? But everything you need to know to connect and build on Canton. So when I put this out on December 18th, Canton CC coin was like 7 cents US, and then it went up to 14. I never bought any. I just told everyone about it because I'm not here to financially advise anyone. Plus, I don't have enough capital on the side to do any of this anymore. I'm just trying to share the truth. So like Crypto Bully Bear says, I told you so. Give him a shout out. Send him some love. Watch his videos in the crypto space, decoding everything from The Simpsons. But CyberX will help you understand some of the deeper dives into the research as well as 24 Hours Crypto. So Digital Asset Holdings, let's go back to that. Scroll down. And of course, you got Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Circle, Copper Co, Cumberland. We were just talking about that, Cumberland. And that's part of the digital assets, I think. SBI, digital assets. So we know SBI, I believe, owns 12% of Ripple or XRP. Their total amount, 100 billion. So they probably own 12 billion. You have Citi, NASDAQ. Okay, so you have the top leading institutions here trusting digital asset, which is working and making Canton. So the institutions behind the institutions you have to know about so you can have some trust in them. But you know, they're all basically using Ripple. And then you know what's going to happen with XPR. I'm not here to, we all know about Metal and XRP or XPR because they're just basically the fundamental blockchain for us to be using. But these guys are going to be given the limelight to take people away into believing that Canton and CC coin and only those that are dealing with the big banks. So these will be the coins that maybe the main financial traders want to get into. But I put this out on December 18th. A lot of times I put stuff out, and then after I watch some other guys and they have similar information, it's not that they're watching mine, it's just that we're all in the same vibe, on the same wavelength. So we're able to understand each other and see that things just mesh. And then that's the ultimate divine creator allowing synchronicity to confirm for us what's happening is actually taking place. So Don Wilson, back in the 90s, he was there was a famous kickboxer called Don the Dragon Wilson. Let's see, I can pull him up. Then he did B movies for kickboxing right there. Don Wilson, kickboxer. Right here. Greatest kickboxer in American history. Yeah, 48 knockouts. Yeah, he was awesome. Loved watching his fights. Check out his movies. Look, all the B movies. See here, it says action B movies. So we have Don Wilson here. It's a different guy because we just saw the video there in CyberX, and it's this guy right here. So since 1992, when they became wanting really the Internet of Value out, and they had to actually slowly bring it into effect, and that's because of, you know, the elites want their 666 symbol to be system to be able to give credence or credit to their AC, their ultimate dictator ruler for the planet that they want to bring under a global governance ship. And so I believe that, yeah, computer adds up to 666 in English ordinal 6 gematria, base 6 gematria, and that basically can say the little beast 666 computer will defeat the big beast. In the book of Revelations, it says that somewhere. But check out 24 Hours Crypto videos. He's awesome. For XRP, deep dives into truth. And CyberX. He's awesome for all sorts of understandings. So I'm trying to even get my son to, he's 16 and even starting to learn about trading with his friend at school. I'm trying to get him to get on Cyber Trading X or trading.com and do his little course there so he can teach me after, because I don't have time. You know how it is when you get a bit older and you have children running around and bills to pay. So with that being said, I'm going to cut this one a little bit short. I'm going to maybe get into a view from space, because we all know that a view from space. Okay, this show right here, 47 seconds, it says no Shoah. No show. So after the one I'm presenting right now, which I have a half an hour left, okay, it goes into why they said no Shoah for him. And if you watch this in that last live, I did part 4, I believe, of AVFS 2017-11-11, he talks a lot about what is another name that came out back with way back when, and now it's in the limelight with us in 2020. and I'll share it right now. And that is the word crypto Jew. Okay, one who's converted but remains a secret. And he talked about being a Kabbalist and into all that. You have the Moranos, a derogatory word, but it was one similar. And you have Udaizer, similar, and all that stuff. So if you want to get some really good truth in history, follow along with the lives of Spaceman that I'm going to be doing. This was on 6:40 a.m. radio show every Saturday night, putting out history truth with God as well, held up in uppermost respect. But the facts are, maybe I'll play it for you right now, because there's a half an hour left after this, but I'll just play this one right now for you so you can see why he, which is new laws coming out about this, why he was taken off for, I believe, a week. And then I have some of his last shows, which he went back into the Crypto Jays. And that's might have why he was taken out in mid-2018, because this is 2017, the end of the year. So let's listen up to why he was taken out for this show. Not allowed on. Oh. Here we go.
Last week's AM 640 broadcast of A View from Space, hosted by Gary Bell, included remarks and viewpoints that ran counter to Chorus Entertainment policies about discrimination on matters of race, religion, national origin, and ethnicity. Mr. Bell's comments were unacceptable and problematic in that they included references to material that can only be viewed as anti-Semitic. We sincerely apologize to our listeners and anyone else who was offended by Mr. Bell's comments. Chorus Radio recognizes that our broadcast licenses are a privilege. Therefore, we are taking strong and immediate steps to ensure such an episode is never repeated. A View from Space will not be aired tonight. In its place, we present alternate programming.
So how do you like them apples? So with that being said, maybe I will play you the last half hour of A View from Space live, since I'm doing a live. Might as well add this into this one, and then this will be part 5. I like to rhyme a little bit sometimes while I'm alive. Oh boy. Anyways, here we go with part 5 of A View from Space 2017 11/11. Now you'll wonder why, and listen up to the last shows or last episodes, and especially like the parts of this one and this part right now. And if not, this will be recorded and put on later. You can always listen to it at your own time later on, because I know we're all busy. We all have our own schedules to keep.
Received secondary school education in Germany. There, Englishman Jacob de Haas introduced non-Sabbatean descended Sabbateans, determined to purge Jewry of its unnecessary European non-Sabbatean morality-believing cohorts. Short list: Felix Brandes. Received secondary school education in Germany. There, Englishman Jacob de Haas introduced him to Zionism. Henry Morgenthau, Jr., Stephen Weiss, Judah Magnus, Felix Warburg, all descended from German Jews. And here's a tongue quote from the Frankist family member, Felix Warburg. We shall have world government, whether we like it or not. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by conquest or by consent. Statement made before the United States Senate, the year 1950, by James Paul Warburg. The angel of the United World Federalists, the globalists, son of Paul Moritz Fahlbuch, nephew of Felix Fahlbuch, and of Jacob Schiff, who set up the United Nations, both of Kuhn Loeb and Company, which poured millions and millions into the Russian Revolution through James Brother Max, the banker of the German government. In another article titled Kerry, Gaza, and New Sabbatean Holocaust, Seamus updates the list by adding Madeleine Albright, John Kerry, the former Secretary of State, Wesley Clark, General Wesley Clark, that was your guide through the Afghanistan war, or the Iraqi war on CNN television. All are CFR members, Council on Foreign Relations, because the globalists run that organization, the CFR, and they have Gentile surnames. But, of course, somehow suffered memory loss or something when it comes to their Jewish parentage. And what did we recently discover? It was back in 2004, the U.S. presidential election. John Kerry is Jewish on his father's side. His last name is Cohen. Changed to the Irish Kerry. Somehow he forgot that his grandparents were prominent Jewish business people in Prague, and that his father is 100% Jewish. Ask yourself, do you know anyone who doesn't know his father's religious background? As rare as it must be, that affliction runs rampant in foreign relations circles. The former Council of Foreign Relations Secretary of State Madeleine Albright also forgot that both her parents were Jews, even though she was raised in the Jewish home of the relatives in London. If you don't feel like these people are deceiving us and hiding something, and if they're hiding that much, there must be way more that they're hiding that we have no idea about. And put into such highly placed, powerful positions for such a long length of time. This is Spaceman on Talk Radio, AM 640. There is a conspiracy for one world government. Please send your emails to spaceman@640toronto.com or space@640toronto.com. I really appreciate the ones that you send me. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Yes, the statement was we shall have world government, whether we like it or not. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by the conquest of the world or by consent. James Paul Warburg said that. A U.S. Supreme Court judge. Yes. Getting back to John Kerry. Carefully groomed from young age. First changed his family name to Kerry from Cohen. Cohen, of course, shows Kerry's true heritage as Jewish. His superiors gave him a fictitious Irish name, great for political effect because Massachusetts, you see, where he ran, had a strong Irish population. And you can add to the list, too, of current prominent crypto Jews. Are you ready? The now deceased, they tell us, Osama bin Laden, whose mother is Jewish, according to another Israeli source. Valley, Australia, and the Mossad, is the name of the book by Rose Cohen, appeared on an Australian publication back in 2002. Osama bin Laden was Jewish, full stop. That's the Saudi family, remember? Big construction company in Saudi Arabia. And of course, there is this secret, too, that the Sauds are not the enemy of Israel simply because they are related. Which is why they're very friendly towards the United States, which is, of course, the biggest ally, the best friend of Israel. Bin Laden, Jewish, very close friend and most watched eminent Israeli journalist, said that according to Jewish law, Bin Laden was Jewish as his mother was Jewish. And if that's not enough, this irrefutably honest Israeli journalist said that Bin Laden's mother's family lived in Israel and knew that Bin Laden was Jewish a long time ago, but with the war hysteria was never mentioned to anyone. Now, Maurice Pine partly recognized the dialectical process at work for the Protocols of Zion when he posited that crypto jewelry in the name of the Islamic world accounts for the tumult of the Middle East today. Of course it does. The phenomenon of crypto Judaism did not remain only limited to the Christian world. We still find it in different parts of the Muslim world. Communities like crypto Jews, as Cecil Roth wrote about, who records several examples of Jewish communities in which Hebrews who outwardly were Muslim men are in fact still secretive worshippers of the Mosaic Law. This means that the Jews have also introduced a fifth column into the bosom of the Islamic religion. This fact maybe could explain why the many divisions and uproar which has occurred in the world of Muhammad. In other words, having infiltrated the Christian and Islamic worlds, this group, the globalists, were in the position to implement Protocol number 17, as they call it, the learned elders of Zion, throughout all Europe, and by means of relations with European states. In other continents also, we must create ferments, discords, and hostility. Therein we gain a double advantage. In other words, go in and create the chaos, create the change. To those who hesitate to believe that the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, backed by Britain's royalty and banking cabal, represent a blueprint for world domination by a secret Jewish brotherhood. Here's some sensible advice offered by Mrs. Cohen. A lot of efforts have been made to dismiss protocols as a hoax. Frankly, it matters not whether they are or aren't because of their astonishing reflection of reality. Read them and decide for yourself. Those protocols were first published in Russia in 1905 by Professor Sergei Nilus. In his introduction, Nilus stated that Protocol number 3 begins with a reference to the cycle of the symbolic snake by which we symbolize our people. It cannot be overstated that this guy, Nilus, misinterpreted the symbolic snake as the symbol of Judaism in general, but Genesis 49, verse 17, specifically identifies only one tribe of Israel as a serpent. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. It's important to remember that this distinction, in order to avoid misinterpretation, misrepresenting all Jews as the perpetrators of this evil scheme outlined in the protocols. No. These are just a handful of elite, secret society members who have a Jewish bloodline. Before presenting Professor Niles' explanation of the symbolic snake, consider what this image really means in the occult tradition. The symbolic snake is the ancient symbol of the Ouroboros, the serpent biting its own tail. This symbol is represented in the logo of the Theosophical Society. A variation of the Ouroboros bears the inscription Et Finis Aborigine, which means look for the end in the beginning. That phrase denotes the Gnostic plan to go back to the future, which they drummed into your head, I'm sure. In other words, to go through time in reverse. First, of course, to be the Garden of Eden, and then back to creation. As New Age writer Tim Robbins stated, our purpose is to return to Eden, make friends with the snake, set up our computers among the wild apple trees. You see, the New Age movement, those people aren't happy with the plan of salvation that the true God had ordained. These Gnostics believe that they are gods, and they have devised an alternative plan to fulfill Bible prophecy. Even this getting back to the garden, famously written into one of the verses of one of the biggest songs of all time, Woodstock. So the Ouroboros illustrates the nature of the Gnostic conquest of Christian civilization. In his introduction to the Protocols of Learned Elders of Zion, Niles charted with uncanny precision the geographical course of the symbolic snake. Protocol number 3 calls for the openness with a reference to the symbolic snake of Judaism. In his epilogue to the 1905 edition of the Protocols, Niles gives the interesting account of this symbol according to the records of secret Jewish Zionism. Solomon, another Jewish learned man already, in 929 BC, thought out a scheme, in theory, for peaceful conquest of the whole universe. Professor Niles seemed to be referring to the 8th chapter of the book of Ezekiel, to whom God gives visions of the temple where the Jewish elders conducted idolatrous rites sanctioned by Solomon, King Solomon, who promoted the worship of Astarte, Diana, Ishtar. And history developed. So the scheme was worked out in detail, and later completed by men who were later initiated in this question. Those learned men decided by peaceful means to conquer the world with the slyness of the symbolic snake, whose head was to represent those who have been initiated into the plans of the Jewish administration, and the body of the snake to represent the Jewish people. This is a questionable view in the millions of Jews slaughtered by the Zionists, I'll tell you that now. The administration was always kept secret, even from the Jewish nation itself. As this snake penetrated into the hearts of the nations which it encountered, it undermined and devoured, in fact, all the non-Jewish power of these states. So it's foretold that this snake has still to finish its work, strictly adhering to the design plan until The course which it has to run is closed by the return of the head to Zion. And until by this means the snake has completed its round of Europe and has encircled it, and until by dint of enchaining Europe, it has encompassed the entire world. This is Spaceman, Talk Radio AM 640. We got to call it Spaceman's Talk Radio AM 640. Emails to space640toronto.com or spaceman@640toronto.com. Final segment of tonight's show. So I said before the break, I must say it again. It's said that the snake has, of course, still got to finish its work, strictly adhering to the design plan, which is world domination. Encompass the entire world. This is to be accomplished, by using every endeavor to subdue the other countries by an economical conquest that is beginning to show its ugly head now with all of these non-trade deals that have been showcased all this week. The return of the head of the snake to Zion can only be accomplished after the power of all the sovereign of Europe countries have been laid low. That is to say, when, by means of economic crisis and wholesale destruction affected everywhere, there shall have been brought about a spiritual demoralization and moral corruption, mostly with the assistance of men and women masquerading as French, Italians, like porn stars of the Passion of the Christ. These are the surest spreaders of licentiousness into the lives of the leading men at the heads of nations. A map of the course of the symbolic snake. Its first stage in Europe was in 429 BC. In Greece, or about the time of Pericles, the snake first started eating into the power of that country. The second stage, Rome, at the time of Augustus, about 69 BC. The third, Madrid, at the time of Charles V, 1552. The fourth, Paris, about 790 AD, and the time of Louis the 16th. The fifth, London, England, from 1814 onwards, after the downfall of Napoleon. The sixth, Berlin, 1871, after the Franco-Prussian War. The seventh, St. Petersburg, over which is drawn the head of the snake under the date of 1881. An actual same as it is forwards as it is backwards. 1881. Yes. The Illuminati just love those. This snake is now being drawn through the Americas and in the United States of America. It's been partially identified as the Council on Foreign Relations. It's fitting that the Aurora Borealis was originally a symbol of ancient Greece, the first stage of the European conquest by these globalists, these Kabbalists. The second stage in the circular route of the symbolic snake was the conquest of Rome in the 1st century BC, which corroborates other evidence that the Zionists established themselves in Rome centuries in advance of the creation of the Roman Catholic Church. Spain in 1550, a stronghold to the first creation of the Illuminati. And France in 1790 was in the throes of the French Revolution. Britain, Germany, Russia virtually completed the circular path of the symbolic serpent in Europe, which was devoured by the end of the 20th century. Because Protocol 3 begins with the announcement. Today, I may tell you that our goal is now only a few steps off. There remains but a small space to cross on a long path we've trodden before the cycle of symbolic snake by which we symbolize our people will be completed. Don't believe in this conspiracy thing? The Merovingian dynasty, in power today, the titular head bloodline of the tribe of Cain, are moving closer and closer to the finish of getting back to their future. The Merovingian dynasty were the masterminds behind the Renaissance. René Jean d'Anjou was the Angevin monarch who, at that time of the Renaissance, single-handedly spearheaded a Hermetic revival in Europe. It was he who personally convinced Cosimo de Medici to translate a lot of ancient texts, like the Corpus Hermeticum, into various European languages for the first time ever, to spread the propaganda. The Angevins were primarily advocates of the Regia, or royal art of Hermeticism, a tradition which, according to legend, was passed down to man by a race of fallen angels. Anjou was a Jewish province in France, too. The word Angevin, or Angevin, is the name applied to two distinct medieval dynasties that originated from Anjou. Angevin is also associated with angels, which may explain why this Jewish bloodline had more than just a passing interest in the writings of the Nephilim. The Angevins, you see, were a senior branch of the Merovingian bloodline, whose members viewed themselves as divine descendants of the fallen angels of Genesis 6. Angevin, angel, and divine, the two words mixed. The Jesus Mary Magdalene blood connection heresy is the exoteric doctrine of the Merovingian race and an occult blind for religious masses. The esoteric doctrine, known only to the initiated, of course, is the descent, lineage of the Merovingian race from the fallen angels of Genesis 6, all the way up to today, whoever has that purest blood, which explains why the founder of the dynasty, King Merovi, the first of the Merovingians, is said to have been sired by a mysterious sea beast, Pallas, or the beast out of the sea, as it's said in Revelation 13, verse 1. A book titled King John by W.L. Lauren actually depicts the Angevins as literally having demonic ancestry. Lucifer, going back to ancient times of the bloodline of Cain, of course, because Cain had a twin, which was Abel, both in the womb at the same time. But Cain was from the serpent seed, and Abel was from Adam to Eve. So from the devil they came, to the devil they'll return. It's said. There are many people who agree with that. In his book, The Top 13 Illuminati Bloodlines, Fritz Springmeier connected the de Medici family with other Merovingians as co-founders of the Priory of Sion. The original start of that Priory of Sion appears to have been the idea of a number of powerful bloodlines included in it various descendants of the Merovingians, including the House of Lorraine, the House of Guise, the Medicis, the Sforas, the Estes, the Gonzagas, and the Sinclairs. The Medicis are tied to the black nobility also. From the beginning, the Priory of Sion has committed to Hermetic magic. René d'Anjou, a descendant of the Merovingian, persuaded Cosimo de Medici to establish in 1444 a non-church library at San Marco where Plato, Pythagorean works, and books on Hermetic magic were actually translated. Up until that time, the Catholic Church had control of all literature, all libraries. It was from Cosimo de Medici's library that the spark of Greek and Egyptian teachings set up what developed into the Renaissance, which was a revival of humanism and the occult practices of black magic. It appears that the Middle Ages, witchcraft and mystery religions had seriously devolved into the point where these modes of...
So I hope you liked how I divulged the list of the Committee of 300 and some of their institutions, and he's talking about them, the CFR, and I showed you also their flow charts.
Thought had to be relearned from the ancient writings. What's really intriguing is the Middle Ages, when witchcraft and paganism were dissolving, having been branded the Dark Ages by the establishment and inaccurately painted as a time when when learning went out the window. The Priory of Sion is the secret society in Paris, which oversees all other secret societies. It is the mysterious Illuminati, which had its origins in the Society of Ormus, which was birthed in, Alexandria, Egypt. Why do you think you see all of the Egyptian imagery in our Illuminati-controlled media today? Once it relocates to Calabria, Italy, and the terms the Illuminati and the Ormus both mean illumined or enlightened. These were the Calabrian monks removed to the Ardennes forest in France, Merovingian property, and settled on the domains of Godfrey de Bouillon, another Merovingian name, who led the first crusades into the Middle East to start all of what you and I are living in today, because the crusades are coming back. Soon to be the 21st. This has been a View from Space on Talk Radio AM 640. I'm Space and I'm out.
Last week's...
Let's listen up to why you now know why he was taken off. Let's listen to it again.
AM 640 broadcast of A View from Space, hosted by Gary Bell, included remarks and viewpoints that ran counter to Chorus Entertainment policies about discrimination on matters of race, religion, national origin, and ethnicity. Mr. Bell's comments were unacceptable and problematic in that they included references to material that can only be viewed as anti-Semitic. We sincerely apologize to our listeners and anyone else who was offended by Mr. Bell's comments. Chorus Radio recognizes that our broadcast licenses are a privilege. Therefore, we are taking strong and immediate steps to ensure such an episode is never repeated. A View from Space will not be aired tonight. In its place, we present alternate programming.
So, thank you for watching, tuning in. If you stayed for the whole show, that's okay. If you watch it later, that's great. It's better to watch it at your own time. I don't expect to kind of keep you at bay on these lives for an hour. It takes up a lot of people's schedules. So with that being said, may you contemplate those lists that I gave you and relook at the video once it's up, and you can see how these guys have been controlling quite a lot of the history through different traditions, calling it chivalry. As the spaceman has disclosed his own secret files of the Priory of Zion. If you get a chance, look up this book, Committee of 300, by Dr. John Coleman. If you can get yourselves a copy, get one, keep it on your shelf, because it's going to come in handy, and it's a confirmation of proof of truth. So, shout out to the spaceman, Gary Bell, from A View from Space, for putting out his wonderful show. I'm going to continue on I believe I have his last episodes on actual cassette tape from 2018, and I'll put those out in the next episodes. And this is a precursor to why those episodes were his last episodes ever shown or ever heard, because he was telling too much truth. He's talking about crypto as well. He was talking about Palestine as well, and how they'll be squeezed into a small area. He basically predicted the future as well. So hopefully you give him kudos when you give prayers to God, for if you see further, it's because you stand on the shoulders of giants that have walked before thee. So this is the Spaceman 2.0, and I'm going to let you go, and you can do your own research. But hopefully you don't get bit by the apple biting you back. Because his first show, you know what? I'm going to go into that and do the last 30 seconds of his first show ever. Well, not his first show, but the first show up here. But the first few seconds of this show. And it tells you how Microsoft has a back door. And Apple and all that. They knew exactly what they're doing. This is what it's going to sound like when our crypto takes off.
You're out there with the Spaceman, Gary Bell, on Talk Radio for Guys, Mojo Radio, AM 640.
You think I'm out there? What about this guy they call Bill Gates and the Microsoft Corporation? You're going to hear some stuff about Microsoft Corporation in the next few minutes that's just going to absolutely, unequivocally prove to you once and for all this Microsoft domination has got evil intent behind it. Not only just the evil intent, but it is bound and determined to be part of the New World Order that is going to enslave us all. And right now, they can read every single message that you get, every single message that you print, every single that you visit. They have your number. Just about every machine in the world has got the Microsoft system software installed. And if they don't, they run applications from Microsoft. But very few people know the true story behind the rise of Microsoft. And even fewer suspect the terrible cosmic secrets that are concealed inside the facade of this gargantuan software company. In the object linking and embedding 2.0 programmer's reference, there's this very serious term. It's on page 78, second paragraph. It starts with a sentence.
In the aggregation model, this internal communication is achieved through coordination with a special
Listen up.
instance of linking interface known as the controlling unknown.
The controlling unknown of the aggregate.
Did you catch that?
DARPA is for control of
The
command.
words controlling unknown.
Come on, DARPA always has to have a back door.
I think it's a very interesting choice of words. It's a view from space on Mojo Radio. I'm coming right back with the incredible truth of Microsoft, mind doom virus, and a possible attack on Groundhog Day that could be a day of infamy far worse than 9/11. Talk Radio for Guys, Mojo Radio, AM 640, the Spaces.
All right, sorry if the music is too loud. But that's a nice view from space about Microsoft and Bill Gates as well, and how he was a precursor. If he was still on the scene, he would have been telling everyone before about everything that was going on with the jabbery-doos as well as crypto and credit system hidden in plain sight, using that with CBDCs in the near future. But hopefully you can get on board beforehand and use the technology for your own good, because like I said, the little beast can defeat the big beast. And that's the small computer, which could be the phone in your hand. As much as it's there to deceive you, it could be there to help set you free if you know how to use it properly. So I'll get back into A View from Space and some more episodes at a later time. Thanks for watching and have yourself a wonderful day. Spaceman 2.0, and I'm out.